The child's voice was small, tremulous, but it cut through the cold air like a blade. "Please don't take my mommy." Agent Jaron Cross froze. He had heard those words before. Not in this exact way, not from a child with lavender-tinted skin and luminous eyes, but the tone, the pleading, that desperate, broken plea. That was universal, and it stopped him cold. The little girl was no more than 6. Her name, according to the file, was Leary. Species, Nyrellan. Age, 6.5 Earth years. Legal status, undocumented dependent of target subject. Target subject, Kira V. Laren, her mother. His target. His job was simple. Enter the refuge sector, confirm identity, escort both mother and daughter to the holding bay. Kira would be processed and returned to the outer colonies. Leary, well, the report had blank lines. No plan had been finalized for her, because no one wanted to decide what to do with a child who didn't belong anywhere. Cross knelt slowly, not out of sympathy, he told himself, but to maintain eye contact. De-escalation protocol. He'd been trained for this. "Leary," he said evenly, "your mother broke a law by coming here." "She was scared," Leary whispered, clutching her mother's hand. Kira stood silently, regal even in her exhaustion, cheeks hollowed from hunger and weeks in hiding. "She didn't want me to die." Kira finally spoke. Her voice was calm, but her eyes shimmered with unshed tears. "I fled because my village was firebombed for resisting the conscription." They would have taken Leary, put a gun in her hand by age 10. They burn children for sport out there. Cross looked down at his data pad, then slowly powered it off. This wasn't protocol. This was something else. 2 hours later, he was in his transport vessel with both passengers inside, technically against orders. But the internal processing had a grace period before full submission to Central Immigration Command. He needed time. He stared out over the city. New Denver shimmered under the twin moons, clean towers and neon arteries pulsing with life. To most humans, it was home. But to the alien diaspora fleeing wars beyond the Soul Gate, it was a fortress, one whose gates rarely opened. Kira and Leary sat quietly behind him, the child resting her head in her mother's lap. "You know they'll never approve asylum," he muttered, still unsure why he was speaking. "I know," Kira replied, "but I wanted her to feel what safety feels like. Just once. Even if we're thrown out tomorrow." Cross remembered something else. A story from when he was 5. His mother had nearly been deported from Earth because of a registration glitch. He remembered screaming as they took her from their apartment. The only thing that stopped them was his father's military record. That scream had haunted him all his life. Now he was on the other side of it. The next morning, Cross sat in the dark of his quarters, reading Kira's full history again. She wasn't lying. Nyrellan Civil War, scorched colonies, forced recruitment of females into birthing camps and males into frontline units. Kira's partner had died in one of the drone bombings. She fled with Leary through the black zones and somehow hitched onto a freighter bound for Earth space. It was desperation, not deception. And now that desperation sat on his couch, eating dry cereal while her mother braided her hair. "Do you want me to lie?" Cross asked softly. Kira didn't look up. "No. I want you to tell them the truth. And then, if they still send us away, at least I'll know we tried." But the system didn't want truth. When Cross submitted his full amended report, complete with testimony, planetary trauma scans, and refugee credentials, it was kicked back in less than an hour. Order reconfirmed. Deport immediately. Additional violation. Agent interference. Penalty. Pending review. They were going to take his badge. Worse, they were going to take Leary. He found himself shaking. The next morning, Kira was gone. Cross's breath caught in his throat when he found only the child curled up on his couch, alone. She said they'd come for her first. Leary mumbled, eyes red. So she left. To give you a choice. Cross ran. Surveillance grids picked up a Nyrellan signature crossing the upper metro dome. He traced it to a rail hub. Kira stood alone near the edge, arms wrapped tightly around herself, ready to board the outbound cargo line. You think you're protecting her, Cross growled, but you're abandoning her. I'm trying to save her. You won't. He reached out, voice cracking. I can't let you go. Tears filled her eyes. Then don't. But make sure she never has to run again. He had one last card. His uncle, General Ewan Cross, was now Director of Colonial Integration Affairs. The man barely spoke to family anymore, especially after the war. But Cross made the call. Uncle, I need a favor. Silence. Then, you know I can't bend protocol for charity cases, Jaren.
She's not a case, he snapped.
She's a mother. Her daughter cried and begged me not to take her. I haven't slept since. I don't want to wear this badge if it means doing that. The general sighed. Send me everything.
Cross did.
Within hours, a calm message blinked. Temporary stay granted, 1 month. Appeal pending. Don't make me regret this. It wasn't a miracle, but it was time. Kira stood frozen when he returned. She had expected chains. Instead, he handed her a small card. A residence permit, he said. Temporary. Her lip trembled. You risked everything. He shrugged. Blame your daughter. She broke something in me. Kira stepped forward and hugged him. Not out of gratitude. Not out of desperation. But like a sister who had finally found someone who gave a damn. And Leary? She squealed and ran to him, throwing her arms around his leg. Thank you for not taking my mommy. His voice cracked. You're welcome, kiddo. Weeks passed. Kira took work at the hydroponics lab. She was brilliant. Her species' natural bioluminescent affinity allowed her to tend the sensitive growth lines with better efficiency than humans. Leary started school. She struggled with the language, but made friends fast. She drew pictures of Earth animals and Nyrellan forests and handed them to Cross every evening, like trophies of a better life. One evening, Kira made dinner. Human recipes mixed with Nyrellan spices. It was strange but good. This was supposed to be just a shelter, Cross said softly, looking around his modest apartment, now filled with warmth and laughter. Now it feels like home. You made it one, Kira replied, watching her daughter dance in circles across the carpet. Even if they deport me tomorrow, you gave her something that no bomb or tribunal can take away.
Peace.
He didn't respond. He couldn't. Appeal day came. Cross wore his full dress uniform. Kira dressed plainly, but elegantly. Leary clung to her mother's side, holding one of her crayon drawings, of all three of them, holding hands. They walked into the tribunal chamber together. Inside, silence reigned. A panel of 6, human and alien alike, stared down at them. Files flickered across translucent screens. The lead adjudicator raised an eyebrow. Agent Cross, you are aware this action has placed your career in jeopardy. Yes, ma'am, he said clearly. And I would do it again. And you, Kira Valerian, do you wish to say anything before we deliberate? Kira stepped forward. Only that I came here not because I wanted to break laws, but because I wanted to keep my daughter alive. Leary stepped forward beside her. Everyone turned as she raised the drawing. This is us, she said shyly. We're together. Please let my mommy stay. Silence stretched. The adjudicator leaned back.
I'll be honest, she said at last.
We've seen too many cases like this end in tragedy. But sometimes there is a moment, a human moment, that reminds us why these laws exist at all. She paused. Provisional residency granted. 1 year, with renewal based on integration and employment status. Kira collapsed in silent tears. Cross closed his eyes. Leary smiled wider than the sun. That night, as Cross sat on the balcony with a mug of coffee, Leary curled into his lap. "Do I get to call you Dad now?" she asked innocently. He blinked, breath caught in his throat. Kira stood behind them, eyes wide. Cross looked down at the girl and then up at her mother. "Only if your mom's okay with it." Kira smiled, tears shining. She already decided. Cross wrapped his arms around the child. "Well then," he said, voice hoarse. "Guess I'm not just Agent Cross anymore." "Nope," Leary giggled. "You're ours now." And for the first time in his life, that didn't feel like a burden. It felt like a gift.